What is up, U.S. history people? We have one more review guy for you. John Fraser is almost asleep, possibly is asleep. Thumbs up, good. Remember to click like and subscribe. Keep those likes higher, those dislikes, people. Make sure you hit that little bell to get your notifications. You don't have to do any of that. I was just making fun of Generation Zoomer. Anyway, let me get slideshow going here from the current slide. So this one's going to be about the home front and the effects. So when we talk about that last objective with World War One is all about domestic and global impacts of the war. So I'll do domestic first, and then probably do another 5 minutes on the global. Okay. So really breaks down into two main domestic categories. The first deals with how the U.S. was mobilizing for World War One, and then the second is how they dealt with opposition to World War One. So these are the three ways that the U.S. mobilized. Well, it's not the only three ways, but three ways that we discussed about the U.S. mobilizing for war. So each one kind of deals with a different industry or area of society. Is it going to work? Yes. Okay. So here we've got basically mobilizing the military, so authorizing the draft of young men for the military. War Industries Board was converting industries to war production. So for this example, we're talking about the economics, so mobilizing the economy. So econ. It's hard for me to write with this try. And then Committee on Public Information. So this is more like mobilizing society. So this is more of like a social thing. So getting people on board with the war because there was a lot of opposition. So we got military, we've got economics, and we've got society. Our next slide right here shows some different examples of this. So you've got the military in this example and in this example, and then you've got kind of the propaganda mobilizing society by portraying Germany as this mad brute animal savage thing coming after you, and then the economy by getting people to conserve food, growing gardens, get war jobs, things like that. All very similar to what you're gonna see in World War II as well. But those are some examples of the mobilization to kind of remember and how they portrayed it um, in their propaganda using the Committee on Public Information. Opposition. So the way that opposition was handled, um, with a couple different examples. The one that you should definitely know is the Espionage Act. It's still in force today, and it is one thing that the government uses to prosecute people that leak information that they feel is important to keep secret. So here are the things that it did. The big thing, though, is giving out government information. That's the thing that's going to get the death penalty. And the U.S. was very worried about people leaking information about the military or what the government was doing in the war strategy. So the Espionage Act, this is still in effect today, so I'll pull a check by it. The other one that came out was, oh, sorry, there's also a lot of draft riots, race riots in the United States related to people coming back from the war and racial aggression that was occurring. Also, though, you had the Sedition Act. The Sedition Act is more about speech, so having seditious speech or people speaking out against the war. So a restriction on freedom of speech was a big domestic impact, which is pretty common throughout wars in U.S. history. So the major targets, though, were labor leaders, which means unions, union workers, because generally they needed people to go to work, not strike, make sure people were doing their job, and also union members in general tended to be seen as a little suspicious in terms of being possibly communists or trying to overthrow the established authority of the capitalistic society that America had. And then Socialist Party members, so people that wanted to go against having a free market economy in the US and institute a socialist form of economy. Utilizing the government. So those people were generally the most targeted, and they also tended to be the people that most opposed the war as well because they felt like it was a war that was for economic gain, which we discussed in those different competing documents that we looked at. Here's some examples of people that are prosecuted under the Sedition Act just to see how kind of crazy these things were getting. So you can take a look at those at your leisure. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. The Red Scare, another domestic impact. It really takes off after the war, around 1919. But because Russia had a Bolshevik or communist revolution and creates the Soviet Union, there was a big fear about revolution in the United States, especially communist revolution. So as a result, you had a lot of fear about terrorist activity or people trying to overthrow the government. And one of those people that was really um, worried about this was the Attorney General of the United States in 1919, A. Mitchell Palmer, who instituted the Palmer Raids, which was just massive arrests of various groups of people